Hi everybody, I'm Florian Puhani. Welcome to my new video. Here's a shout out to all of you who read my community posts and especially to those of you who also regularly vote in the polls. This video is for you in particular, so I won't beat around the bush very long about the solution of the latest poll quiz. The nice thing is, this time I abstained from including nonsense answers. So none of you is completely wrong. About option 1. For a push-up on standing gymnastics rings, you definitely need balance too. But the question is, why? Is it because the rings are so narrow compared to your flat hands or the bases of parallettes? If that was the case, this person here, wearing hockey boots, would need to exert a tremendous amount of balance just standing there, because the blades on the boots are definitely narrower than gymnastics rings. But if you've ever stood in any kind of skates, you know that's just not the case. After all, even young children can do it. What about option 2? Of course you have to keep your wrists, elbows and shoulders stable. But why is that more challenging than in any other kind of push-up? Because your arms will start to tremble and shake on the way up. And why is that the case? Because you have to balance your way up, which sets us back to square one. You could argue that it is actually the slow tempo leading to a longer time under tension that makes you shake from exhaustion. And while that may also be a factor, it doesn't change anything. Because then I would ask, why can't you push up faster? And again, the answer would be, because you have to keep the balance. So the need for stabilization is caused by the need for balance. But as we have already seen, balance isn't the root cause either. What makes the difference between a relatively relaxed stance wearing ice skates and holding a plank position on standing rings, which very few people can do relaxedly? I certainly can't. It is the connection between the implement and your body. The boots reach up over your ankles, and they are strapped or tied around them very tightly. That makes the blades something like a stable prosthetic extension of your legs. You could also think about walking on stilts, which isn't that hard either. In contrast, the rings can turn freely in your palms if your grip isn't tight enough. And that's why in the quiz option 3 is the correct answer. The main challenge that's causing all of the above is your grip. If your palms around the rings were as tight as ice skates around your ankles, this exercise would be almost as easy as push-ups on parallettes. But that is something you probably have never trained for specifically, because in all the usual grip training methods and challenges, the force you have to resist or overcome is directed in the longitudinal axis of your forearm. It's pulling against your fingers in the opposite direction of your elbows. So no matter if you're hanging by your fingertips or just a half crimp as the climbers call it, or if you're holding a bar in a farmer's carry or a deadlift, it's always just about keeping your fingers sufficiently flexed, which doesn't help you that much on the standing rings because there the force in your hands is of a rotational nature. But the beauty here is, if you are specifically training to resist that rotational force, your grip will become stronger overall for all purposes, no matter if you're a climber or powerlifter or stone lifter or any other athlete who needs any aspect of a strong grip. And here comes the best part. You need ridiculously small weights for it. You know, back in 2022, when I invented the ring bell, initially I was just thinking about a much cheaper version of a really heavy kettlebell, one that also had a longer handle so you could goblet squat it from the floor. It never crossed my mind I would ever need a baby version of a ring bell. This one here has only 2.5 kilograms of weight on it, But as you will probably understand just from looking at it, that's more than enough for me. Of course, you have to train to resist the rotation in both directions. So you need two different exercises, one with a supinated wrist and an underhand grip, and one with a pronated wrist and an overhand grip. In both cases, the important point is that the ring stays horizontal, with the attachment point of the weight diametrically opposed to your hand. And the easiest way to do this would be just isometric holds. But I personally like to make it more entertaining, so I combined the underhand version with a biceps curl and the overhand version with a side lateral raise. Full disclaimer, these exercises won't do much for your biceps and your side delts respectively. But the dynamic execution also pays respect to the fact that during a push-up on standing rings your arms will move too. So if you're training for that exercise specifically, it would be counterintuitive to train your grip in an entirely static environment. Okay, so here's my challenge. If you can do either of these two versions with 2.5 kilograms or more for 10 reps or more, please post it as a reel on Instagram or as a short here on YouTube, and please tag me so I can bow to you in admiration. My name is Florian, and in the meantime I will continue to make an effort so that you don't get bored with your training.